What's up guys, my name's Brandon and iOS 15 Beta 2 has been out for a couple of days now, and in this video, just like we do every weekend, I wanted to cover even more new features and changes found in the software, along with looking at the performance, the battery life, the bug fixes, the connectivity, and more. We also have new information on some upcoming Apple products, which we will talk about near the end of this video. But anyways, yeah, iOS 15 Beta 2, it came out on a Thursday, and late on a Thursday at that, which is very unusual for a 0.0, like a major release on the second beta. I'm not sure the last time that one came out on a Thursday, but that is when we got it, when people least expected it, myself included. But anyways, we have quite a few additional new features and changes that I wanted to talk about before we got into the performance, the battery life, and all of that. So let's go ahead and talk about some additional features here in Beta 2. So the biggest new feature in Beta 2 is Share Play. So this is where you can share your screen, you can, have listening parties, you can have watch parties and things like that. And I found some additional changes here in Beta 2 while doing this. So there are a couple of things here. If I go ahead and share my screen, we're gonna go ahead and share my screen. Of course, we do have a countdown. I have this call pulled up over here as well. And you can see it shows join screen sharing right there on the other device. If you tap on open, it actually puts it in full screen. So in the video before, I didn't really, have an idea how to do that properly, but that is how you do it. And also when you're screen sharing the device that you are screen sharing on, you will see up in the status bar, we have a little purple icon up there, which I have not seen a purple one in the status bar before, but that is new here. Also, if we go into messages, you can see that while the call is active, we have a screen sharing bubble right there that shows one person active and it says unknown. And then also here in Beta 2, you can see that all of the FaceTime calls actually show up in the conversation view in the messages application, which is actually pretty nice. I almost wish that regular phone calls would show up in this view as well. But yeah, so we have a couple of things in here as well. So if I go ahead, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to do a listening party here. So we're going to go ahead and play a song. So while I am active on this FaceTime call, if I just go ahead and start playing music right here, I will get a prompt to share play it to everybody. So you can see right here it shows started surfaces for share play, and you can see down here it actually shows one listening. So this little bar down here, you can see it shows one person is listening and so many people are on the call. And also if we go into the queue, this is where we can actually move it around together. So for example, if I go into the queue on the device that I'm FaceTiming with or doing share play with, if I go into the music application, you can see it's going to load, it's going to pull up the song that's playing right now. But you can see when we go into the queue here, I can go ahead and move around and you can see the queue moves around on both devices. So that is kind of, look at that in action, which is pretty neat. And also when somebody updates the queue or moves songs around in the queue, you will get a pop-up up top. So I'll just move something around and you will see up top, I get a little notification saying that the queue has been updated. So SharePlay is shipping up to be a massive feature, an absolute hit in iOS 15. I think it's going to be huge in the fall when it gets released to everybody, but that was just a little bit more of an in-depth look at SharePlay here in iOS 15. Now I did just go out of dark mode, but I'm gonna go back into dark mode here for a second to show you guys that dark mode in Safari is not actually a full dark mode. So it's actually more of a gray. So you'll see up top that it's more of like a gray than a pitch black. So in Beta 1, it was a lot more dark than it is here in Beta 2, especially when we go to this menu right here, when we go to add a new tab, it's just more of a gray tone than a pure black, and I actually like it better. We also have some changes inside of the music application, and you can see right underneath of Listen Now, Top Picks is no longer bold. So this is Beta 1 on the left, Beta 2 on the right. You can see Top Picks is no longer bold. And also it shows, some different text under there. Also recently played is no longer bold. And also if we go into the library right here, you will see that the arrows are a little bit more narrow, and also the recently added is no longer bold either. So it just seems to be across the board here inside of the music application. We also have some additional changes inside of the weather application here that I did not notice in the initial What's New video. So you can see right here that the weather map has more rounded edges and it's also slightly smaller here in Beta 2 compared to Beta 1. Also in Beta 1 it said See Map, but now in Beta 2 it says See More. And then also on the map you can see the marker is black in Beta 1, and in Beta 2 it is white. And then also at the very bottom you can see some slight changes to who Apple is crediting for the weather information. We have a new logo there, and also the Weather Channel logo is centered and in the middle, whereas before it was on the far right And we also have, clickable links for weather data and map data. Also new in beta 2, when we go to report an incident, you can see that accident is now renamed to crash. Now, if we go into the clock application and go to alarms, we can now tap on an alarm to edit it. Whereas before, we could not simply tap on the alarm. We would have to go to edit and then tap on it. So this is a very small change, but it's a nice quality of life change that's going to make your life easier when you want to edit an alarm. Inside of the podcast application, we have a slight verbiage change here. If we tap on these three dots up in the top right of a podcast show, you can see that it used to say unfollow. Now it says unfollow show. So just a minor difference there, but it's more clarity on what you're doing. If we go to our lock screen or our notification center, you will see that the now playing view is a little bit smaller. It's a little bit more compact, and it's also a little bit more rounded off than it was in beta 1. So it's very hard to tell, but we do have slightly more rounded edges here in beta 2 compared to beta 1. The books application icon also has a very slight change here in beta 2, so it's really hard to tell, and I don't even have the application installed on my beta 1 device, but you can see that's what it looks like on beta 2, and on beta 1 it's right here. So just a slight change to the shape. It's a little bit more rounded off here in beta 2. It's just a very small change. You'd have to really look at it in Photoshop to tell a difference. Also in my beta 1 video, I did talk to you guys about this feature right here. If we tap on the three dots and then go to add to quick notes, so that's a feature I talked about in my initial what's new video, but of course it doesn't do anything, and I tried to get it to show up on my iPad, which is on iPadOS 15 beta 2, but it doesn't continue on there or anything. So it seems like this is just a bug feature right now that just really doesn't work at all unless quick note is coming to iOS, which I'm not sure if that's the case or if it's just going to be more of a continuity thing where you can just add this to a quick note on the iPad or on your Mac. So we'll have to wait and see on that. And then also hotspot connections are getting more secure in iOS 15. So with iOS 15 beta 2, hotspot connections now use a WPA3 security protocol. So this is going to make the connection just more secure overall, which is nice. Also new in iPadOS 15 beta 2, apps will soon be able to request access to use more RAM. So Apple just introduced a new entitlement with the release of beta 2, and Apple says that this is going to inform the system that an app, quote, may perform better by exceeding the default app memory limit. So we probably won't be able to use the full, 8 or 16 gigabytes of RAM like we see on the M1 iPad Pros, but this might mean that applications on those M1 iPad Pros could run significantly faster since they will have access to, using more of that RAM that they have. So we'll have to see, what happens and what applications implement this feature this fall. And it should be very interesting, and it could be, it could mean good things for that M1 iPad Pro that a lot of people complained about, especially when iPadOS 15 got announced, because it really didn't say anything. Apple didn't say anything about taking advantage of all of that RAM. Now, as far as bug fixes go, iOS 15 beta 2 has a lot of bug fixes. So I did notice that, first of all, FaceTime, a lot of the bugs are gone. However, SharePlay is laggy, and I do have random crashes in FaceTime when I am doing SharePlay. But aside from that, just regular FaceTime video and regular FaceTime audio calls are much better here on beta 2. Also in Safari, I did also notice that Safari is significantly better than beta 1. It's still not perfect, but I don't have the really annoying issue. One of my most annoying issues was when I would be typing something in, the box would just go away even before I could search, and I would have to retype it out. But that has not happened to me once here and in beta 2, so thankfully that has been fixed. And then also my other really annoying issue I had in beta 1 had to do with iCloud Private Relay. So thankfully, I've not had that randomly disconnect or reconnect since installing this. So that is good news, because that was really, just throwing me off in beta 1. Now, iCloud Private Relay still does, reduce my speeds. I still have slower speeds when I have that enabled. So I do tend to disable it a lot, but it is at least better here in beta 2. Also, app-specific notification sounds have been fixed in beta 2. So for instance, Snapchat would just use the default notification sound instead of the one that it's supposed to use, and same with ESPN and multiple other applications, but that has been fixed, thankfully, in beta 2. Also, spatial audio, the head tracking is so much better than it was in beta 1. So like if I go into my accessibility and then down to AirPods, my AirPods Max, for example, I had this disabled for the longest time, the follow iPhone, because it was just so bad. It didn't really follow the iPhone very well at all. But in beta 2, it does follow the iPhone better than it did in beta 1, but I still, I think, prefer spatial audio to be off when I'm listening to music, just because sometimes I sit my phone off to the side and I don't want the sound to be just on one side. Also, if you were using shortcuts in beta 1, you would probably notice that the gallery was extremely laggy. You can see we actually have a bug right there. That's the first time I've seen that one. But you can see the gallery kind of just goes down and it overlaps with the content right there. So definitely a bug in gallery. I will report that. And make sure you guys are reporting all your bugs, by the way, with the feedback application. But anyways, gallery is just a lot less laggy now than it was in beta 1. It was borderline unusable in beta 1, but now it is definitely better. And then as far as cell connectivity goes, cell connectivity is better here in beta 2 as well. I have noticed that it doesn't seem to be as spotty and it doesn't disconnect from 5G as often. So a lot of times on beta 1, it would just quickly disconnect from 5G and go back to LTE and vice versa. But now it sustains longer like usual on beta 2. So it has gotten better. But as for Wi-Fi connectivity, that also seems better, but this is something I will have to continue monitoring because it does not happen all the time. So sometimes, like when I get on a FaceTime call, sometimes it just disconnects from my Wi-Fi and switches to LTE and causes like a 5-second pause in the conversation. So I'll have to monitor that, and expecting it to be a little bit better here in beta 2 though. But as far as remaining bugs go, I still do have the bug where the volume is just kind of all over the place. So when I go in and out of applications like YouTube, like music, pretty much any application, when I go out and go into another application, the volume will be significantly lower or significantly higher than it was, prior. So that is a bug that I will be reporting, but it is still present here in beta 2. Also in photos, the memories are still not shareable, so I'm not sure why the share button right there is grayed out up top, but that is still a remaining issue here in beta 2. And then also, I did notice that apps are actually crashing more than they did on beta 1 for me on my iPhone 12 Pro and also on my iPad Pro. My M1 iPad Pro, apps are crashing more than they were on beta 1, which is really weird, doesn't really make any sense, but it is just something I've been experiencing. And while we're talking about that, let's just go ahead and elaborate a little bit more on the performance. And the performance on beta 2 is better. It's going to be better for pretty much everybody across the board. That's kind of undeniable because beta 1s are always, very buggy, and beta 2 usually always fixes a lot of the issues. And the number one issue I had was with the control center, especially when I was in an application. Control center would be very slow to come down. I've not experienced that once here in beta 2, so thankfully that has been fixed. And also the app switcher lag is gone as well. When I would go into the app switcher and select a certain application and then try to go back to the one I was just in, that would lag, but that has not happened in beta 2 either. So it appears that a lot of the lag is gone in beta 2. There is still, stutter. It does still feel like an early beta, but it is much better than beta 1. Now, as far as battery life goes, battery life is better for sure on beta 2. I've been able to tell just within, a couple of days of using it. If I pull up my main device here, my 12 Pro, let me go ahead out of dark mode right here, and let's go into the battery. And you guys can see the chart I have right here. Also, there is a slight change to the battery chart right here. You can see that the lightning bolts look a little bit bigger. It just looks a little bit different than it did previously. But you can see my battery life there. So it's still not perfect. It's still, not near as good as it was on iOS 14.7 or 14.6. iOS 14 is still going to have better battery life for sure. But you can see that the battery life is, draining, but not draining as fast as it did in beta 1. If I go to my last 6 days right here, you can see kind of my usage and the stats right there. But battery life, I will be able to give you guys a more accurate, update on battery life overall in next weekend's follow-up video, because I will be using it for over a week at that point. So stay tuned for that. And if you guys have any, input on your battery life, let me know down in the comment below if it's better or worse for you than beta 1. So now what's next for Apple? So we are on a 2-week cycle, a little bit over 2 weeks, because of course we did get beta 1 on the 7th right here. And of course, 2 weeks would have been the 21st, but we waited all the way until the 24th to get beta 2. But I would assume that we are still on a 2-week cycle. So that would put us at the week of July 4th, which is a holiday, and it's observed on Monday the 5th. So Apple may wait until July 6th to push out the 3rd developer beta for iOS 15. Now, where things get tricky is the public beta, because the public beta, Apple said July, but July 1st actually falls on Thursday, which would be a week from the release of beta 2. So I'm not sure if Apple's going to push it out then, or if, developer beta 3 is public beta 1. So it could come out on July 1st if in fact beta 2, developer beta 2 is public beta 1, Or if it doesn't come out on the 1st, I would expect it to come out, a couple of days after the release of developer beta 3, most likely on like the 8th right there, the 7th or the 8th is when realistically I would expect to see iOS 15 public beta 1. So should be interesting. Of course, Apple is unpredictable, so anything could happen. It's really hard to predict what they're going to do because they really just change up history, easily, especially this year. They've done things that they just have never done before. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Now, aside from the software side of things, we also had some Apple news come out over the past week that I wanted to briefly run through and kind of give you guys a recap of what happened this week. So first off, Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo published a note to investors recently and said that the upcoming 2022 iPhones could feature under-screen Touch ID technology. So he says that Apple is planning 4 models in 2022, and none of those will be the mini size like we saw with the iPhone 12 mini. And of course, this year we are expecting a 13 mini as well, or a 12S mini, whatever it's going to be. But in 2022, we're just going to have 2 variations. So 2 variations of the 6.1 inch and 2 variations of the 6.7 inch models. So he also mentions that the high-end 6.1 and 6.7 inch models, which are the Pro models, will have an improved wide-angle camera with 48 megapixels. So we should see a improved camera, but then again, megapixels don't really tell the full story. That doesn't really say it's going to be that much better, but it is good to see that we are going to have an improved camera as expected. And then Kuo also mentioned that the upcoming 2022 iPhone SE will be, quote, roughly the same as the 2020 iPhone SE, but this time it will support 5G and also have a faster processor. Now, he says that the SE will be the, quote, cheapest 5G iPhone ever, which means that it will cost less than the iPhone 12 mini and presumably the 13 mini as well, which was $699. So it's looking like the 2020 SE is going to be a great deal, especially for a phone with 5G. So it's also worth noting that he did not mention an iPhone SE Plus like we've heard about, previously, especially last year. So that might not be coming at all, at least not in early 2022 when we're expecting this new SE to be released. It's probably going to be released at a spring event in 2022. Now, as for the iPhone 13, TrendForce recently published a report that claims that the upcoming 2021 iPhones will not come in a 1 terabyte storage option. So we heard rumors about this previously, but it looks like Apple is going to be sticking to just 512 as the max size you can get for the iPhone 13s. Now, they also said that all models will have a smaller notch, but the Pro models are going to have the long-awaited 120 hertz refresh rate. So that'll be nice. And then the LiDAR scanner is also going to be on the Pros only as an exclusive. So we heard previously that the LiDAR might be on all models, but it looks like that may not be happening. It's going to stay on just the Pros, and they're also going to have that 120 hertz refresh rate, which will be nice. And then finally, the new Beats Studio Buds were officially released on Friday. You can pick these up in the Apple Store or order them online and get them shipped to you. They're $150, and they do have active noise cancellation and transparency mode, but they do not have a W1 or H1 chip, which is a huge disadvantage or kind of a huge con in my opinion. So they are kind of an in-between option between the AirPods and the AirPods Pro. So they are priced really nicely because they are in the middle of those two. But you can try those out for yourself and see if you like them, if you are a fan of the Beats brand and maybe not of the AirPods brand. But anyways, guys, there you have it. That is my follow-up review on iOS 15 Beta 2 after using it for a few days. I will have more thoughts on this next weekend, and I will ask you guys for your input next weekend as well. And hopefully we see the public beta as early as next week. It's possible. Probably not likely, but it is possible. But anyways, hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, I would appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up, and also make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future iOS 15 content, and of course next week's follow-up video, and of course all the fun stuff coming after iOS 15 public beta gets released. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.